Good afternoon and welcome to another edition of the Daily Fix. I am your usual host and presenter, Advocate Tulo Hoyane. This afternoon I'm just pondering why the Senzo Meyiwa investigation turned out the way it turned out. Because looking at it, it is very odd that we find ourselves where we are. Let us start with, the gathering at the Kumalo house. The gathering at the Kumalo house seems to have been very peaceful. There was Senzo Meyiwa visiting his girlfriend Kelly Kumalo, together with Kelly's mother, Makumalo. There was Zandi too present there. And Senzo had invited his friends from as far as KZN, Tumelo and Togozisi. It was a good evening for everybody, with the exception perhaps of Longwa, who came in earlier. But that gathering, was a good gathering, good family gathering, until we are told that intruders got into that house. Let us for one moment believe that, or go along with the explanation that intruders did in fact get into that house. And according to the narrative that these people in the house want us to believe. But I find it very difficult to believe that intruder story, because every time I look at it, the no intruder story or theory comes back to mind. Now, we have always said the only credible theory is Kelly probably shot Senzo by mistake. There is not a hint of any problem between Kelly and Senzo in the run-up to that fatal shooting. So all was well between them. That was why Senzo was there in the first place. Now, according to the narrative of 375, this was an accidental killing. This is why I'm saying it becomes very difficult to believe the intruder story. So this being an accidental shooting, what should have been done? The natural thing was, Kelly Kumalo ought to have been very sorry about it. Everybody ought to have been very sorry about it. They should have all have simply gone to the nearest police station, your Fosoras police station, and reported the accident. Would probably by now have long forgotten about the Senzo Meyiwa matter. Had the people in the house if they had it in themselves, just to be honest and come out with the truth, to say, this was accidental. What would have happened to Kelly? Kelly would probably have been charged with culpable homicide, the unintentional killing of a human being. But the circumstances are such that she was not even that reckless. Most probably she would have got away with a very light sentence and should have long have been out of jail by now. But you see, this is where we are now. The reality of it is, we have been told about intruders. Now one wonders why the simple narrative of owning up was not the best option. For at least, in fact, for all the people in that house. None of them is prepared to tell us the truth of what happened in that house. Now, it raises all sorts of questions, because we know for a fact that from Longo, from what Longo told Tip while they were in jail, that after the shooting, Kumalo is supposed to have screamed, "Oh, what will I tell them he was?" If Longo can be believed, he puts her behind that gun that killed Senzo Meyiwa. You see, another thing that could have prompted them to come up with an intruder theory is that the gathering there was, much as it was, a very sort of casual gathering where everybody was happy and so on. There was Mandisa, there was always the shadow of Mandisa in the background. Senzo's wife, and this sort of relationship with Zandi in front of Makumalo, the Makumalo who knew that Senzo was married to Zandi and simply turned a blind eye to it. It was terribly embarrassing that on such an occasion, Senzo, who had slipped away from his wife, would then find himself having to lose his life at the girlfriend's home, in the presence of the mother of the girlfriend. And because there was already a lot of bad blood between Kumalo and Mandisa, Senzo's wife, they probably thought this thing was just too scandalous. How would somebody who is, running around with somebody else's husband in the aftermath of this, or after this has happened, how would somebody like that, go back to the wife to say, "You see, your husband that I always cheat with, I've just shot the husband that I'm always cheating with away from you. I've shot him by mistake." It was the most embarrassing situation for anybody to find themselves in. It was quite, a very uncomfortable situation for Kelly to find herself in, having to explain that. Even though it was a mistake, but it would be, a tough and difficult task to open up to the Meyiwas to say, he died in my house, I shot him accidentally. But even under those circumstances, I still maintain that it was an honorable thing to do, because it was the only truth that was available. If you look at, the difficulty of that explanation by possibly Kelly Kumalo to the Meyiwas, and then you juxtapose that against, fabricating an intruder story. Because the intruder story was fabricated to run away from what had really happened. You look at the two and ask yourself, which of the two was the better option? I think the owning up by Kelly was the better option. Difficult as it was a better option. Like I've indicated previously, would have long forgotten about this Meyiwa thing. The family would have long got closure. Even if that, disclosure had been a bit scandalous for Kelly Kumalo, she could have lived through it. Mainly because it was an accidental thing. You see, if something is accidental, it's unlike if it is deliberate. Something that's accidental can be as bad as things come. But society is much more willing to forgive and forget. if something was accidental. It is only with things which are deliberate that society tends not to let go, because there's always that feeling that, an intentional thing intends to inflict more pain. But here we are. Here we are. Those are some of the things I've just been pondering about the Meiwa trial, just to say to myself, why didn't even a single person in that house, Senzo's girlfriend herself, Senzo's best friends, Tumelo and Toguzisi from KZN, long way. Even Makumalo, Makumalo is an elderly person. She should have known better. None of them came up with the real story. And the real story is the story of 375. Their consciences must be troubling them. But we leave to the courts to decide. But at the end of the day, we all know we are all human. Even if the courts decide, or however the courts decide, we have our consciences to live with. And they will keep on, eating away at us. Because you see, if you hide away the truth, you can hide away the truth from the world and come out victorious in a court case. But you cannot run away from your conscience. You cannot run away from your conscience. Your conscience will forever haunt you. Having said that and shared these ideas with you, please let me know what you think in the comment section as we wind the clock now to April 14th when the trial will resume. And let me get your opinions. What do you think about, Should Zandi have simply have said, I shot my boyfriend by mistake? Or should those people in the house have now come started imagining things and making up stories about intruders? I think the honorable thing was just to admit it and take responsibility. Having said that, let me thank you for watching this video and thank you for all the subscriptions and views that I'm seeing. And please have a nice afternoon and evening.